Okay, being 5:15, I'd like to call the October 28th meeting for the Economic Development Committee to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remove your hats. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call has been taken.
Yes.
Just a real quick reminder to everybody that these are recorded and live streamed meetings. Okay, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Motion has been made by Tim and seconded by John. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Agenda is adopted. Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the September 23rd, 2025 meeting minutes as presented in the packet.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Minutes, a motion has been made to approve the minutes by John and a second by Tim. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as presented in the packet. Okay, I'm opening the floor to public comment. And just a reminder that public comment is not intended for questions and answer or dialogue with the committee. It is to provide people the opportunity to give their input on a topic. If you have questions or want more dialogue, I would ask that you reach out to our staff and or your alderperson for that conversation. To present public comment, please come up to the microphone at the table so we can hear your comments. When you come up, please state your name and address. And keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. A clock will be provided on the screen to help you. Any public comment?
I have a feeling I have too many papers. My name is Lynette Gitter. My address is W10098 Hankey Road in London. I'm also the clerk for the town of Maple Creek. And I was here the last time, a couple of meetings ago, and there were some questions or some information that I thought need to get out there yet. Under agenda item number 11, you're going to be going into closed session to negotiate a contract for the sale of land in the Northeast Industrial Park to the solar company Avangrid. Would you please reconsider or please consider putting this decision on hold for a while? Here's some facts. Large-scale solar projects. Wisconsin state statutes require solar farms of 100 megawatts or greater to obtain a certificate of public convenience and necessity, or a CPCN, from the Public Service Commission. Public Service Commission reviews these projects and then makes for factors like public interest, environmental impact, and land use interference. For smaller projects, statutes like 66.0401 govern local authority, limiting their ability to impose unreasonable restrictions on solar systems. As far as solar farms, in 2015, there were no applications actually approved by the PSC. 2027 were approved, and by the end of 2024, 30 solar farm applications have been approved in Wisconsin. That's how fast these are being built, and has the legislation kept up with this? There is a bill that was introduced to the session right now by Travis Trammell, our Cuba City, to seek that any solar farm over 15 megawatts or more should seek approval with the city, village, town first, or any municipality. I have questions for you. Has Avangrid provided you with enough information that they have secured the local right-of-ways to proceed with their project, and therefore the need for the land? What happens in 30 years when panels no longer function? What about decommission costs? Have you researched all the potential downfalls of selling land to a solar company? Many solar companies have gone bankrupt in 2024. Google it to find out. Will the money be there that they have promised or proposed? Have you considered the town of Maple Creek and what impact that a proposed 150 megawatt farm will have on its residents? And in the long run for the city, reduce property values, less money spent in the city. Is there a hurry or rush to get this done? Why not wait until you have all the facts? Will there be a new technology in the coming years? And finally, this information is from Citizens for Responsible Solar. 10 reasons industrial scale solar isn't right for agricultural or rural areas, and that's what this is. I think the biggest thing is the land, farmland, vegetation, soils forever destroyed. Solar projects should not be placed near wetlands, rivers, streams, tributaries. Solar power plants destroy wildlife habitat. Solar power plants threaten preservation, should not destroy historic sites, which we have some in Maple Creek. A decline in eco and historical tourism. Solar power generation is very inefficient when looking at the amount of land consumed, undermining of local residents' property values. And the bill for decommissioning projects will be likely passed on. The final, when the local community has clearly expressed concern or opposition, local planning commissions and boards of supervisors should vote to reject industrial scale solar power plants if people in the community oppose it. With time, greater awareness of social issues and accountability will take place. And as far as I know, there hasn't been too many people who are from your local community that have been here in the city, but the people from Maple Creek have been here and expressed their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
There's only so much farmland.
Excuse me, name
Oh,
and
I'm sorry,
address.
I'm
So,
Judy Knapp,
thank you. Address?
W9847 Menzel Road.
Thank you.
There's only so much farmland. When it's gone, where are you gonna get your food? Have you read lately or seen any of those solar farms? Just yesterday, I read another article that with that, all that in the air, the bees don't know where to go. The birds aren't migrating the way they're supposed to be anymore. This is affecting them. And when the bees are gone, where are you going to get your food? Please, please, don't allow this in Maple Creek. We're country people.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Public comment? Okay, one last call for public comment. Hearing none, we're going to move on. The presentation of the East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission Spark Workshop.
All right, in your packet, we included a copy of the program summary from the SPARK program. Again, the SPARK stands for Strategic Planning and Revitalization of Communities. This is a program that East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission sponsored. Again, we were chosen as one of the few communities in our region to participate in the program this year. And what East Central does is they finance a landscaping firm, landscaping architect firm. This year was Ayers and Associates to come in and provide a one-day workshop to kind of talk about an envisioning session, something that provides revitalization to communities like the SPARK program talks about in the name. And we were again participated in that program. So in the packet was a summary of that report of that one-day workshop. I'm not going to go through it verbatim by any means. I would invite everybody to kind of take a vision and look at that on your own. But a couple of things I just want to point out. First of all, it wasn't just to talk about the area that we've kind of targeted for a placemaking project, which includes the area by State Farm Insurance, Longevity Fitness, Future Beer Garden, and Wolford Pub there. They also took a holistic approach and looked at the entire downtown. First of all, they kind of looked at what the traffic patterns is and the kind of the loop around the river, the downtown district. Again, they talked about, we did an initial focus on that placemaking site, but also looked at how does that tie into the other park and public spaces that we have. Not only do we have the Brinker Riverwalk and some open spaces here, but we also have the Anchor Park, St. John's Park, Taft Park, and then the River Trail Park over here with the new sculpture trail going on. So they kind of looked at this a little bit of a holistic approach, and how can we tie this all in together? Again, I'm not going to go through verbatim, but the area that we've been focusing on again is that area by Longevity Fitness and State Farm Insurance. How can we do a placemaking project there? And I'll just kind of briefly kind of go through some points here. I know Mayor Mark and Belinda and April. I don't know if anybody else was there for the
Opposite.
day and presentation. Bob, pipe in as we kind of go along. But what they kind of looked at that site is how do we create a pedestrian placemaking site? I've read through a bunch of different downtown planning plans and visions for the future for the downtown. And a lot of them said, how can we tie in the river to our local businesses? And that was one point that they talked about at this vision workshop, is how can we tie in the river with pedestrian access and just with the local businesses? And this is really cool on what they did with that. One of the things that they envisioned was, and I'll bring up a map of the area so you can kind of see what we're talking about again. Currently, this is Longevity Fitness and then State Farm Insurance. We have South Water Street that drives through and connects to Spring Street here as a drive-through. We have the Brinker Riverwalk here. This is the lot that we've currently sold to Kim for the beer garden. And then we own lot 203 and 205, the city does. 207 is owned by the same person who owns 211, the Wolf River Pub. So if you can kind of look at that and envision, some of the concepts they came up with was actually discontinuing the drive. And that really allows access to bring the pedestrian accommodations closer to the river. You're not crossing over any type of vehicle access to get there. So that was kind of a neat vision that some of them came up with. One of the things you might see is this circle drive. We talked about, we want to maximize parking in there, but we don't want to have it overburdensome with parking because we still want the pedestrian accommodations. So they came up with a concept of doing some type of circle drive in there. Like I said, they talked about maybe a concept of discontinuing the road here for Spring Street. We still need access throughout here because this is a entrance, ingress for the new SC Swiderski apartment complex. So we definitely need that. But could we, discontinue the access here and make this more pedestrian accommodations? We also talked about in the visioning session, how do we tie in this city space here that we have that we want to look at doing placemaking at? How do we tie that in without crossing over the alley? Well, they showed a conceptual design concept here of maybe closing off the alley. Later on, we had some more conversations about, well, this alley probably still needs to be having access to the local businesses here, but maybe it's a time of day type thing. Maybe we can create a scenario where this access alley is open for vehicle traffic during the mornings and maybe early afternoons, but maybe in the afternoons and weekends, maybe that's closed off to allow for that free flowing safety passage between, whatever this beer garden space ends up with, whatever the Brinker Riverwalk access ends up looking like, and this pocket park here. Really cool visioning concepts out of the box type scenarios. Not saying that this is a master plan by any means, but this just gives us some ideas for, future visioning for the site. There are some things that they talked about that probably aren't feasible. You can kind of see here that one of the ideas was to put a pedestrian bridge over the river. Well, the cost of that probably is prohibitive of what, especially when you've got a bridge with pedestrian accommodations less than a half a block away. But again, it was just a visioning section to put anything and everything on the table for possibilities for the future. So that's a concept for what this area could look like. And again, they talked about re-envisioning some of the other downtown parks and how do we tie those in together? So they took a look at Anchor Park. How can we look at and re-envision and reimagine Anchor Park? You can kind of envision a similar concept maybe over by St. John's Park. And they also looked at the pocket park concept in between Longevity Nutrition and Wolf River Pub here. Again, we just stayed on our 2 parcels that the city owns right here, but you know, you can kind of see there's elements that tie into each other in the different areas of the park. So again, just that really high view overview of the 1-day visioning workshop we had. I guess I'll open it up to the other ones that were there at the meeting to kind of give you your input as well.
This is the rendering that I had talked about previously. This was the one that when I first saw it come up on the screen, I couldn't figure out what I was looking at because it doesn't look anything to me like that space that I see every day. So this one was kind of shocking and exciting for me to see exactly how much we could really, the opportunities that we have down in those spaces. And one of the things that they talked about was mixed use on the pavings, so that you can actually anchor some food trucks or tents or whatever. If we're going to turn that into a farmer's market type space, that, you know, mixed use for the pavements, stuff that you can actually anchor into. I just thought it was a really neat idea. I loved all of their presentations and the things that they had said, and how they talked about really pulling all of the parks together, finding a theme for our placemaking and kind of sticking, whether it be signage or certain elements, that we see those same elements throughout all of these little pocket parks and little corner parks and those spaces. I thought it was just really neat how they brought that together.
Another concept they came up with was something that's been brought up by other communities years ago, was the trail along the back alley, say out into the water. I mean, that's going to be cost prohibitive, so that probably won't happen. But it's interesting that they brought that up when it already, somebody from our community had already brought that up.
Yeah.
What was it? Having a trail
walking-
along the back alley out onto the river.
Kind of like a boardwalk.
Oh, the cantilever boardwalk.
Yep.
Right.
They brought that concept up last time they were here.
Right. Yep.
That came from the boardwalk, so.
Yeah, and they talked about well, you can see where they had talked about taking and doing just a walking bridge over where those double lines are drawn, connecting the St. John's Park that we haven't finished yet. That's St. John's Park, right? Yeah, the St. John's Park that we haven't finished yet with the Berniger Walk Park. Oh,
And something like that may be a little bit more feasible if we didn't have the Pearl Street Bridge right there.
right.
If the Shawano Street Bridge was the only connection point across the river, there might be more of a feasibility to kind of talk about maybe some more pedestrian access. So you didn't have to walk all the way across, but since the Pearl Street Bridge is there and it has pretty decent
Right.
pedestrian walkways on that bridge.
It does, and it's only a block off, so it's not that much of a walk around.
April or Ginger, because Ginger was obviously very involved with it too. Any other comments from anyone?
I didn't have any other, that was a great recap. I just think it's fascinating when a fresh pair of eyes comes into downtown and the way they see our community, especially this right here, what they came up with. I just thought that was really cool.
One of the things that they said that was interesting that they went with the Circle Drive was they said that look at architecture that and enhancements that actually are kind of urban, kind of North Woodsy, because we're in that we're kind of in that gap between the North Woods and the urban areas, and focus on the river. And I just loved how that looked all river flowy. And when they were talking about the construction elements to use, they were talking about using, you know, concrete and metals, but also using wood. And so it was pretty cool how they were tying it all together. making us that in-between space between the North Woods and more urban areas like the Valley.
So I guess, per usual, I'm here just to remind you all. You all know what I'm gonna say is that we have a lot of, things in our parks that need renovations and things like that. That are already existing and deteriorating as we speak that will need funding as well. But luckily, this project is tied wonderfully with multimodal PED type programs that can be definitely grant funded. I think that the biggest cost that we're gonna see initially is the engineering and design for this project. This is just a sketch. And it's a very nice sketch and they did an awesome job, but there's a lot of things that need to be reconsidered as far as, obviously you can see from here that circle driveway is not going to be, you know, that's
Not to scale.
right, not to scale at all. But doesn't mean that it can't be put there. But our staff and crew aren't the ones that are able to do things like that. So I definitely see this as a 3-phase project, probably not including the engineering and design. I think that Anchor Park and St. John's Park are very simple things that can be done. And you'll see those things probably done first if you're looking to see things done or brought up to committee. And we'll move forward that way. I guess stay tuned to my capital projects requests next November meeting. So
Yeah, and Ginger, just an FYI, before the meeting, I was talking to Chad about, we have a lot of projects and few pennies.
Yeah.
But what would be the benefit of having the engineering and the
absolutely.
architectural plans drawn up?
And that's what we'll need for those grants, is you need almost 75 to 90% engineering and design done before they even want to look at your project. And that's fine. And I can see like safe routes to school, like the whole pedestrian design that they've incorporated into this particular project was really helpful and kind of what the Spark was all about. So
Okay.
that's helpful for us. The bridge is not necessary for that concept, but it's cute.
It is cute. It's cool, but yeah,
It's whimsical, as they say now.
So I think moving forward, obviously, this was a free opportunity, free one-day workshop that kind of gave us some visioning concepts and outlooks and some ideas, like Ginger alluded to moving forward. Any next steps would probably include getting a architect, engineering, landscape architect firm on board to really see what's possible. There would have to be more investigation, like we talked about. Does everything fit in here? Would a circle drive even fit in this location? And more conversations of how we can work with our local businesses in this area on the access points that they need to supply things to their businesses, but then also have more conversations about how do we get incorporate more of those pedestrian accesses in there. So the next step probably would be engineering and architect.
Actually, probably with your committee, your next steps will be the Wolf River Pub acquisition. That property is not ours, and I think that if we're going to hire an engineer and have like this plan drawn up, and then after the fact, they're like, oh, well, why didn't you, and that's Chad's department, and he will work on that. I would say directing him to do that.
Didn't get that far yet, but
So yeah, that would be our next step.
good segue. I did
Yeah.
have a conversation last week with the owner of Wolf River Pub.
I wasn't saying it.
And he did express some interest in possibly looking at selling that parcel. So that is an opportunity. to do that. So that's, that would be along with the concept of things. So, because that would be this parcel right here. And whether that's in the cards that we, acquired that or not, to be determined. But yes, to what Ginger's point is, we need to make sure we know exactly what we have throughout the whole area as well. And I can see this being, like we talked about before the meeting, a combination, efforts between economic development and obviously Parks and Recreation. I
Yeah.
think the next step was, Ginger would present this to the Parks Rec Committee. There are other members on that committee that are not in this room. So make sure that we have everybody on board with what the results of this summary were, and then talk about moving forward in some capacity, possibly.
I guess connected to this also is Kim's project. Can you sort of share any update on that?
Good point. So I've had some conversations with Kim. She is working on re-envisioning some elements in her project. She wasn't ready to provide anything to present tonight. We're hoping that next month's meeting that we have some more information to present. But if you recall, I think I mentioned last month, it's not the worst idea that we work together envisioning this entire area. So that as we move forward, her elements, her plans, her envisions complement and meld with the rest of the site. So it's not a bad idea that we work together in whatever this site, turns out to be in the future.
I mean, and they did take liberty to put the design there in her space,
Mhm.
in the beer garden space. So that was part of the, what we're seeing in that space there, the big green box there, that's actually hers.
Yeah, her property is conceptually this.
Yeah, so they took those liberties upon themselves. We gave them, the pictures of or Chad gave them the pictures of the site and who owned what and what was where. And when they heard that a beer garden was going in there, they ran with it. They liked the idea and ran with it in conceptualizing that area. So,
I don't think it'd be too hard if this doesn't come to fruition, swapping out that area for like an amphitheater or a splash pad or something like that.
correct.
So, I mean, having that there, you can still swap it out with something else.
Correct.
Now that you kind of see how it flows together, the whole space, Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, they called it the Pearl Pocket Park. In that space, and thank you, Chad, for reaching out to the owner about that space, if we could incorporate it or not. They didn't because it wasn't ours. And we had no contact with them whatsoever. So, but to open up that space would be a really cool opportunity as well.
It's not too hard to envision this just moving over and expanding in this area.
Yeah, and we might even be able to get a mini stage amphitheater in there if we were able to. We still have that opportunity, even, just because we see these drawings, we still have that opportunity, so. Because I do like the idea of having a little space in the park there for musicians or comedians or whoever to do their thing. Any other questions or comments on this?
You guys gotta realize though, before you close in the street, you better think of fire service and everything else. Because them are two-story buildings. And the only way you could do it is shut down South Pearl Street or fight them from that back alley.
Again, another reason to really look at the engineering and planning for that whole area.
Yeah,
Correct.
I really liked the removable bollard situation that they had proposed, where it's typically just the regular alleyway, and then if you wanna, maybe it's another permit that we have the special events or Kim fill out, and then we're able to just put those bollards in because the alleyway will be closed, similar to a street closure form.
Yeah, I liked that idea too. Yeah.
Because I have space in my heart for the food pantry as well, because of
Absolutely.
the work that we did with them, with the Washington Center, so.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I did like that second concept where they had the street actually did connect all the way through, and then they did the ballards.
Right.
So that one's not showing in this packet, but that was an option that was really cool.
Good points.
Okay. If there are no more questions, we will move on to consider a small business grant application for the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation's Small Business Grant Program regarding the properties at 103, 107, and 111 West North Water Street, the old City Hall buildings.
All right, if you recall, several months ago, we had worked with Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation, partnering in on a small business grant application to the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. And our contribution to help sweeten the pot to try to get the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation to give us the grant was that the city was going to contribute up to $50,000 potentially to assist any New London businesses that would receive the county grant. In the end, the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation did get the grant. I think it was 250,000. April, does that sound right? 250,000? That the corporation, the county corporation got, and the grant program was tied to the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation's revolving loan fund. So in the end, the applicants, and this was to, again, support small businesses, try to get small businesses in either outdated buildings that needed work to kind of get opened up, or to help keep our historic buildings, especially in our downtown districts, to make sure that we can keep those elements and those buildings in our downtowns. So several applications have been going through the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation. The first New London grant has gone through the process. Mr. Witt, who owns the Old City Hall and the two properties at, or the three properties at 103, 107, 111 North Water Street, is the first successful application or applicant for the Wapaka County Grant Program. As you know, he's already done a bunch of work to the building. He wants to continue doing that work. This next phase of work is to replace roofs to the buildings. His total project cost right now for this next phase, which is going to begin pretty quick, he's looking at a project cost of about $212,000. The Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation approved a loan of $100,000 plus part of their grant money up to $50,000 for the project. Since the application went through and it was approved through the corporation, it's our turn to consider that because this is a New London project. At this time, I'm recommending that the committee consider a grant amount of $25,000. Again, we had $50,000 that we committed to the project, but I think it's in our best interest to not give to one person. We want to spread the wealth a little bit per se. Hopefully there's another application or two that come through the corporation to help other buildings that are downtown. But I'm asking that the committee here consider a grant of $25,000. I would work with Attorney Stegbauer at that point in time. We come up with an agreement with Mr. Wint. Some of the terms in that may be including, but not limited to. Number one, I would like to see that the loan and the grant that he has through the county be used first. So as long as he still gets to his $212,000 project budget, that should be no problem that he would get to meeting the amount of $25,000 of the city. So number one, that the grant is reimbursed and that the loan and the grant funds of the county are used first. And then we would be the third point of financing with that. And then if you recall, we actually have an agreement with Mr. Witt already that we encouraged him to do some exterior improvements in both 2026 and 2027. We wanted him to at least do $50,000 of improvements exterior improvements in the building, which he has done a great job and he's definitely doing that. But I would say that neither the Wapaka County grant funds or our funds would contribute towards his $50,000 exterior improvements agreement with us. I think he's already hit it per se, but even if he didn't, you know, he's got $100,000 loan that he's definitely going to hit that in his own, using his own money for the project. So I don't see that being a problem with what he's got going on right now. So with that, I'm kind of throwing it back on the committee to consider a grant amount of $25,000 for the project. Any questions, comments?
Make that motion.
What's it?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Dave and a second by Tim to consider a $25,000 small business grant to Mr. Witt for the properties at 103, 107, and 111 West North Water Street. Any further discussion on that?
Is there any time frame in which we are required to distribute this money?
There is on the state's end for the $250,000 that the state gave the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation. I can't remember what that is off the top of my head, but our money is not tied to that. We're free to, you know, use our money as we need, but there is some terms with the Wapaka County money, with the state grant money.
With the $250,000 that came in.
Yep.
We'll be giving out the rest of it out very, very soon.
Oh yeah, there's
It's almost gone.
yeah, it's been a very popular program countywide. So there have been several grants given to other businesses and other communities already, and this was our first New London one.
Any further questions? Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, next up is discussion of the city's next Highway 45 billboard message.
All right. John, I'm gonna have you help me out a little bit on this one because we've been kind of in communication with that, but so as the committee is probably well aware, at the last meeting we talked about continuing our plans to reface the message of the Highway 45 billboard. We talked about at the last meeting continuing our plans to promote our industrial park, that we have land available for business development, and it's pretty much shovel ready. So after last meeting, I went back to Lamar because Lamar said they could design a billboard for us, and I basically said, you know, and they made it crystal clear to me when I started conversations with them, the message needs to be brief and it can't have a lot of stuff on it, just because when you're driving 60 miles past a billboard like that, you don't have a lot of time to sit there. You don't have more than a couple seconds to actually look at it and absorb and figure out what the message is. So I basically told them I'd like to see a billboard designed with information about land for sale. It's in our industrial park and it's in New London. So with that, they came back with a very basic billboard. You know, it's nothing fancy, but it's business park land for sale in New London. So this was the first design they came back with that. I had an opportunity to share it. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but it gets the message across. Had a opportunity to kind of share with some people. John and I kind of went back and forth a little bit. John came back with an idea to spruce it up. At the last meeting, John was talking about ideas about promoting our water and electric availability in the business park, and this kind of does that. We communicated a little bit. Number one, I suggested the next right sign, which is good that it's kind of like showing that it's close. My suggestion was to say second right, because we want to promote people going to D If you go the next right, that's on Spur Road, and that's probably not a good truck traffic road. We want to promote everybody and the truck traffic to go to the second right on D and then get to the industrial park from that point. The other challenge with this right off the bat was that the dimensions were not quite right. If you look at what Lamar provided, our billboard is 14 by 48. As shown right here. So the size is quite a bit different than what this just concept was all about. So I took this back to Lamar and I said, can you guys update your billboard with this kind of information? Well, John made this with the help of AI, you know, and they said, well, we can't really just take this and modify it to fit that because these dimensions are wrong. They kind of asked if I could have John redo this billboard with the help of AI to kind of get it to the dimensions that we need from here. I don't know if you want to kind of, you know, throw in some information from that point, but
Yeah, well, that part of it you'd think would be easy, but if you've ever worked with AI, it will never do something exactly the same if you ask it. Please do not change anything except for the little sign over here and make it to these dimensions. It'll come back and half the water tower's cut off. It changes something every time, and it usually then you're working backwards. So all you can do is try to hit it on a different day, give it the same building concepts, the same concepts you used on day one, hope that it gets it right, like the first time. Because every time you ask it to make a change, you know, even if it's like change the lettering behind land for sale to yellow, it will come back and it might do that, but it will have everything else changed. It'll have the substation on top of the water tower. It's not a reliable thing. I used to have some graphic artists, very talented ones that I could just kind of creep out to. And they helped us with the billboard a couple of years ago. When we had a different concept that was where like Cottage Life, Commerce meet. They helped size that photo for us and get it to, you know, same camera took the photo. The substation photo is a photo I took the spring or whatever, and then the water tower was the cell phone. That's not what our water tower actually looks like, but you know, I gave it those building blocks. It created something what I thought was pretty cool, but I can't duplicate it. Tim is experienced in this from the print plant.
You gotta yell at it. Like, you gotta put it all in capital letters.
And bold.
Yep, you have to like,
You gotta
yeah,
like, yell at it.
be very encouraging to it, and you have to know your.
The nicer you talk to chat, the nicer it's back.
Yeah, you get better results when you're kind to it.
Seems
I'll
like the
put
high
some
school students
cookies.
could do something like this.
They like cookies, I hear.
But so that's the dilemma is, you know, how can we, it gave us a great concept to go off of, but I don't know, maybe I'm just I have a prompting class at the end of the month, but that's not for another month, you know. Maybe I just need to prompt it differently or give it the same.
There has to be somebody or
The high
business in the
school.
community that could
Yeah.
make that sign
Right here,
right.
we have two of them sitting right here.
well, I
This is
asked,
not rocket science.
we do have somebody internally, Katie, our marketing person. I asked her to do that and she said, she tried, she spent a bunch of hours trying to figure that out. She said with the dimensions of this billboard, the water tower, she can't get it to work nicely with the water tower, with the substation in there, and just this height looks really nice with getting the substation underneath the letters and a water tower here, because our billboard is quite a bit shorter and longer.
Put the water tower on one side and the substation on the other.
Yeah, I mean,
The letter's smaller.
Put the
With the
message
letters
in the middle.
You know what I mean? It's not gonna look exactly like what Johnny came up with, which is
Mhm.
phenomenal. But it's gonna have the same concept. That is, we can't put that up there.
No, it's terrible.
It's god awful.
The one,
Do you notice it's blueprints in the background? I didn't realize it, so I was like, oh yeah.
it's actually a map of the industrial park. You can kind of see
Yeah.
the, whatever.
You're not
You
gonna
call it
do
what you
that.
want. It's ugly. the one thing I liked about the water tower visual is when you see that sign, the very next thing when you're driving, because I go through there.
Is you see the water tower.
That's kind of like whether you're a truck driver and we're talking about the other thing, we want to really increase awareness of the industrial park to truck drivers more and more. We have truck drivers that aren't from the area bringing stuff to deliveries to the park. That's a good eye mark. So, you know, maybe you could cut the water tower, or just do the top half of it, or
Oh, just separate it. Put the words in the middle, because you gotta go longer, right? We gotta be wider. So
yeah.
put the water tower on one side, put the substation where it open for business is.
Mhm.
And you can put the words above the substation, you can have the water tower on the other side.
Mhm.
We have to go wider, we can't go, you know what I mean? So just separate them two pictures.
All in all, I think you're.
Put the words
on
in
the
between.
money. I think
Yeah.
the water tower, substation, business park, land use, I think we're on the right track. We just gotta pin down the design.
It's the size of it, yeah, and that's.
I mean, we'll do it for a year. If you don't get any calls, whatever, well, it's at least we tried. I mean,
So I guess with this input, I'll continue trying to come up with ways with these elements. We'll get it to work out with these elements to try to get, and we gotta get this going, because if it's gonna be in production, we wanna hit this before probably January, so that we can put it up when the ground is frozen. That's one of our key things.
Well, that company we were hiring, they should be able to do that.
If we
Send
give them
them
the
the
pictures,
photos.
yes,
You give them this picture, they should be able to shrink it down to that.
they weren't able to grab these elements and pull them off. We'll have to give them better pictures.
Well, then it can't be a very good company.
Yeah.
I'm
well,
serious.
Well,
Wow.
they were,
That's what we're paying them for.
right, they weren't quality photos to start with, but AI
So-
has a way to, yeah. You don't even,
Yes.
you could do a stick person drawing and,
This was the photo that Johnny used
right.
off the
you could-
bat
And I asked it
to get this. So I mean,
Right.
for me to give him this, it's not gonna
Yeah,
work. I gotta give him
that's-
something. We gotta give him something. But regardless, I can work with them and see what we can do from there.
the best one, and that's not a real large file format anyway, so.
Just some other things. Katie did try to do something with the water tower and substation. She came up with a different idea, just to throw it out there. So this is kind of a different concept with that, but I will continue on with the water tower and the substation concept.
Still better than the first one.
Well, and I kind of like the idea of the logo. If we've got to make it longer, wider, or longer, incorporating the logo in the other one.
I can work with them on that. And Johnny sent me the information, so I thought I'd try my luck with AI, just to give you guys some good laughs. So here was my first AI attempt. It comes up. Let's see. So I asked them to do a billboard with the substation and the water tower, and putting information on where the it's a second second turn on the right. This is the first attempt that came up with. I'm like, okay, that's not even close.
Oh, no.
That looks great.
Here's my second attempt with more information. They put the water tower in front of the billboard. And then I went to a different AI platform. And that one came up with this.
Awesome.
So I thought I'd just share just for some,
attention.
That's still almost better than the first one. I could lie that first one, it's ugly.
so, all right.
So,
So we'll
okay.
continue on this concept. Go from there.
Chad, you want to show? the
Yes,
tours?
thank you.
Okay, so that's nice.
So again, the city's got one side and the tourism commission has another side. And April's been working on designing something for the tourism side. So I don't know if you want to.
So I created 5 different options for the tourism board to look at, and we're gonna kind of stay with the same silent sports theme. I thought of an idea kind of dovetailing right now. Eric's got the commission right now where they're talking about putting down the cell phone in the homes and more talking, less scrolling. So I kind of tied that in, less scrolling, more throwing. And I used 2 9-year-olds to be outside, having fun and disking, growing up outdoors. But they turned out pretty nice. So I got 5 good options, and the board will decide on November 12th how we move forward.
And you did not use AI.
Yeah, so you made it work.
Oh, shoot. I wasn't showing them online, so here's the options again online.
I love that one right there.
I like that one too.
Okay,
Very nice, April.
thanks, very, yes. Okay, moving on to updates and reports, business updates, April.
Hold on a second. Oh,
So the first update I have for you is a new business that will be coming soon. Ashley Ellis is currently, she's kind of like a mobile workshop artist that will pop up at different corporate events or come to your home. And she just signed the lease to take over at 305 South Pearl Street, so that was Advantage Signs. Her first anticipated open date is small business Saturday. She'll be by appointment only. So November 29th, I look forward to a new business coming, Ellis Visual Arts on Pearl Street. Next is a business closing, Goodwater Studios. I reported in June of 2024 of Goodwater Studio opening, and they unfortunately have closed. It's at 102 East Cook Street. I wanted to share a commercial lease option. I talked with the new owner that's taken over for Emily's Cafe, and he is trying to find somebody to lease this. So I want to just get the word out. We're looking for, I think, a really great deli, bakery, sandwich shop option. So please spread the word that we are looking for someone to lease this at 422 East Beacon Ave. The only update I have on here is the parcel, the Grand Cinema Theater has sold. They close in November, and then that information will be public. I had reported on Katie's Touch and Tan building being sold. I had reported that they were supposed to open October 12th. She's having some issues with her key fob system. She was hoping to open this week, but it looks like it's going to be a few more days before they get that figured out. And then I kept Babe's building up there as well with Tri-County. He's doing some renovations and he's hoping to open in December, but he's right on time for that. Okay. Anything else going on there?
The Grand Theater parcel, was that both buildings or just one?
Just the grants. So the theater portion is still for sale. So just the opera side. So
in my understanding, there's actually 4 lots. There's 2 parking lots in the back, and then the Grand Theater, and then the new theaters. And from my understanding at this point, it was just the Grand, not the 2 parking lots and not the new theaters at all.
she said I think she said November 12th, that information will be public.
Have you heard anything on the Big Little building?
We haven't. We've been trying to kind of investigate and Google, and
I heard they were moving a lot of stuff out the other day.
yeah, they're doing some.
I've reached out to a contact who I thought who was involved. Phone call, email, no response back. Dave's been kind of keeping an eye on it and see if I've been going out there and he's been going out there. We know there's things going on, but nobody's out there when we're out there, so we can't really talk to anybody. No building permits have been taken as of yet.
So more to come on this, I guess. Next, I wanted to give an update on Pumpkin Palooza. It was our very first annual downtown trick-or-treating event. I thought it was absolutely amazing turnout. Closed the streets down for 2 hours. We had over 2,000 attendees come together. We invited all of our businesses, member businesses, regardless of where they were located, to come on down and participate. So we had quite a few businesses come down and set up activities, do some trick-or-treating. I partnered with Waukesha County Economic Development to pull some place your AI information. To the right there is the visitor journey, and I thought that was pretty cool to see that the post visits, just less than 40% went home, but the rest of them were visiting our gas stations, our restaurants, and our bars and pubs. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I just want to thank everybody that was able to support that event, whether you're a business, a sponsor, a volunteer. It truly takes a village to put an event on like that. City, obviously was a great partner, but that was a really, really great event. Of that 21,000 or 2,100 attendees, 55% of them came from outside of London. Very nice. Any questions?
Thank you very much, April. Okay, moving on to the city administrator's report. Chad.
All right, so we continue to work with the developer for the Irish Meadows development. That's over just north of the East Ridge subdevelopment. Plan Commission will be reviewing the final plat in the near future. I'm also working on the draft developers agreement, and that'll be reviewed by Attorney Stigbauer soon, that we can present that to the developer. And then, like I said on here, I recently received interest from several developers regarding housing projects, working with a lot of different things. Single family developments, multifamily developments. We've gotten some additional inquiries and interest, especially around the TID number 7 up by the Aldi's TID district. So I will just continue to work with these developers on as those opportunities progress. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, move on to review potential agenda items for future meetings. The hotel feasibility study and conference center feasibility study. If that is a necessity or not. Transportation updates, childcare updates, housing updates. And I would like to add to this list the engineering, the landscape engineering for the placemaking park areas.
And maybe some dialogue on the potential purchase of that third lot.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
How that would look, are we looking at pricing and, you know, how that would be
Yes.
facilitated or?
Purchasing that other lot in the Pearl Pocket Park.
Yeah, and is there anything that comes with it that we're not aware of? You know,
Yeah.
Not, I don't know.
Thank you. Okay. Reviewing the next meeting date would be,
So the next regular one would be November 25th. However, that's Thanksgiving week. So typically we've either gone before or after that. I don't know how things are panning out with some other developments that we have going on. I think sometimes we've actually split. We've done one in early December, so we've split the November meeting and the other.
canceled the,
Yeah, because the December meeting would be on the 23rd, again, Christmas week. So we've tried to do something that's been in the middle of the month or at the beginning of December to just try to split those two meetings. So, but we've got Board of Public Works on Monday the 1st, Economic Parks and Rec Committee on the 2nd, and then Finance Personnel on the 3rd. So I don't know if what everybody's thoughts are. If I just work with Belinda to try to find a date in here, whether it's, and then we got council on the 16th, if we try to stick with a Tuesday.
My agenda would be probably pretty short in December, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a joint conversation if we have the materials for the Wolf River Pub acquisition, and I'll be able to give more details on an engineering and design cost.
I forget, with our new schedule, would it be on the 23rd or the 30th?
We are
forget.
normally the 4th
Okay, not the
Tuesday of the
last.
month.
Okay.
So not
Yeah.
the last of the month. So that would be normally the 23rd of December. But obviously that's Christmas week, and I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of vacations and other things going on. So, but if everybody's kind of okay on maybe December 2nd, piggybacking with and maybe doing our normal meeting following Parks and Recreation on December 2nd.
Do you think that's okay? Bob?
Sure, I'm fine with it. We've done it before with the Public Works, so it doesn't make a difference. That's fine.
okay,
So I think we target that date for now and then just
Yep.
keep an eye on your agendas for confirmation.
yep, tentatively on the 2nd of December.
Okay.
Following Parks and Rec.
Following, or maybe even in conjunction with,
Right.
a joint meeting scenario for part of it.
Let's
talking
Okay,
about
yeah.
downtown. Yep.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll figure it out.
Yep.
Okay, so technically then no November meeting.
correct. We would, push that to November, or push that November meeting.
Into the first week or second week of December, somewhere in there. Okay, sounds good. Okay, at this time then, we are gonna go into closed session for the following statutory exemption of 19.85 subset 1 subset E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session regarding an offer to purchase property in the Northeast New London Business Center by Avangrid Incorporation. Those invited into the closed session are the Economic Development Committee, Common Council, Mayor Herdier, and City Administrator Her. Okay, we take a few minutes
Nope, we need a
to.
motion in a second.
I'll make that
Oh.
motion.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Dave, second by April. All those in favor of going into closed session?
I-
Opposed? Okay, hearing none.